Did you at any time ask the father to terminate his parental rights to allow someone else to adopt or take over those rights, ma'am?
I did when I was mad one time.
I was in a different state. I didn't think I would be able to see Jeremiah. So I had signed my rights away, or at least I thought I did. I had mailed the paper.
And then, sir, your other children besides Jeremiah, what are their ages?
So my two stepkids, they are 9 and 7. My oldest son, Vance, he is 7. And the baby is 1, going to be 2 in October. And then, of course, the one on the way. Only for the fact that I do have stepkids too. And as I know they're not involved in this case, I do take care of them more because their sperm donor is really not that active. So for me, it's a lot harder to take care of them as well for the fact that he's not helping at all. So
Is your current spouse employed, sir?
Both parents are present. Miss Weaver is now Miss Jackson. And in this case, Your Honor, we do have some agreements regarding paternity based on the DNA test report. The father putting the child on TRICARE for medical as well as dental. And the disagreements, Your Honor, with regard to the child support amounts, both current and retroactive. Parties are in agreement that Mr. Neal provided direct support of $300 per month through Cash App beginning in February of 2021. However, the packet indicates we're looking at retroactive support going back to the child's date of birth in 2019. And so from July 1 of 2019 until January 31 of 2021, the state did calculate support a judgment for the amount of $7,549.63 based on Mr. Neal's rank at the time and him having one other child during the relevant period. Current child support in this case is being calculated based on his base pay, BAH, and him having 2 other minor children. The state is requesting that this be a temporary order, and I don't believe either party objects based on Mr. Neal having another child due in October of this year.
All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and get some testimony, but the math and the law is the law, Mr. Neal. And while you have the right to tell the court why you think this amount should be different, the state calculates retroactive child support based on earnings at said time, and I don't even use the BAH on retro, but I do look at base pay if you were in the military during that time frame. And going forward, yeah, we always use BAH, we always use base pay, so it's really simple to figure out what child support is supposed to be with military personnel. Well, I'll see why this should be something different. Anyway, at this time, I'm gonna go ahead and ask Ms. Jackson to unmute herself and raise her right hand, and we'll get you both on the record. Thank you. You're both officially under oath, and I'm gonna go ahead and let the state call you both as witnesses. If there's anything at the end of this hearing you think the court needs to know that is pertinent to what we're doing here today, you'll be allowed to tell the court that information so long as it's relevant. In and of the fact that you both represent yourself. You're what we call pro se litigants, which means you're technically your own lawyers, but we'll go ahead and get that data, and the court will add it into the information and weigh it appropriately. So at this time, I'll go ahead and let the state call you both as individual witnesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Brianna Jackson. Ma'am, what is your full name?
Brianna Lynn Jackson.
And previously, ma'am, what was your legal name?
Brianna Lynn Weaver.
And so, ma'am, going forward, all of these documents you're wanting this court to ask or to have as ordered as your current legal name, Jackson?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is the child in this case?
Jeremiah Neal.
How are you related to Jeremiah?
I'm his mother.
When was Jeremiah born?
June 7th of 2019.
And ma'am, who is Jeremiah's father?
Kyle Neal.
Were you given the opportunity to take a DNA test and then see the results, ma'am?
Yes.
And based on those, ma'am, you have no problem with us going forward to set support from Mr. Neal?
No.
Were you able to hear my opening statement, Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Was it accurate as far as your positions on the current child support amount as well as the retroactive support judgment?
Yes, ma'am.
Going back to your son's birth, what, if any, direct payments have you received from Mr. Neal?
The Cash App payment starting in February of 2021.
And included with the packet from your state, ma'am, you had included a declaration that Mr. Neal paid you $6,170 through January of 2023.
Yes, ma'am.
And since that time, going through April of 2024, you received an additional $4,500.
Yes,
And so the retroactive support judgment you understood me to have calculated was based on July 1, so the month starting after your son was born until January of 2021, for which time you had no direct payments.
yes, ma'am.
And during that time frame, you and Mr. Neal did not live together either, correct?
No, ma'am.
Right now, ma'am, how does your son have health coverage?
He doesn't have any at the moment.
And you have no problem, ma'am, providing Mr. Neal the information or documents necessary so he can enroll your son on TRICARE Medical and then dental?
No, ma'am.
And ma'am, are you aware of Mr. Neal having other children besides Jeremiah?
Yes.
And as far as you know, ma'am, Mr. Neal's only source of income is what he's paid by the military in base pay and the BAH he also receives?
Yes.
And so, ma'am, as far as the current support amount, you were wanting the full $744, which is the 16% of Mr. Neal's net resources.
Yes, ma'am.
Was there anything else, ma'am, you were wanting the court to consider?
No, ma'am. That was it.
And ma'am, as far as the judgment we already talked about on the retroactive, but did you have a preference as to the repayment amount Mr. Neal made every month beginning June 1st of 2024?
What do you mean?
So the state's request was going to be $88 per month, which would be $50 plus interest. Were you in agreement with that, or were you wanting something different?
No, that works for me.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Your Honor, I pass this witness.
All right, ma'am, we'll be back in just a moment. I'll go ahead and let the state call your next witness. Thank you.
The state calls Kyle Neal. Sir, what is your full name?
Kyle Allen Neal.
And sir, were you able to hear my opening statement?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Was I accurate as far as the agreements you and Ms. Jackson do have concerning you being the father of Jeremiah and you putting him on medical and dental?
Absolutely, ma'am.
And then, sir, as far as the disagreements, is it correct that you're wanting this court to consider ordering something different from the guideline calculated support of 744?
Yes, ma'am.
And that the retroactive support amount I'd calculated since Jeremiah's birth to the end of January 2021, I believe you had reasons the court should not order that amount.
Yes, ma'am.
What are those reasons?
So at the time, I was in a different state. I didn't think I would be able to see Jeremiah. So I had signed my rights away, or at least I thought I did. I had mailed the paper. Come to find out, 2021, I guess she was going through divorce. I'm not sure. She sent me the message asking if I wanted to be in his life. And I had told her I thought I sent my rights away. She had said, no, I only told you that out of spite. But ever since then, I have paid and tried to be there as much as I can.
And then, sir, your other children besides Jeremiah, what are their ages?
So my two stepkids, they are 9 and 7. My oldest son, Vance, he is 7. And the baby is 1, going to be 2 in October. And then, of course, the one on the way.
And sir, is Vance a child for whom you pay support?
Yes, ma'am.
And then the 2-year-old, is that child in your household?
Yes, ma'am.
And the one that you're expecting in October, is that the 2-year-old's full sibling?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the exact due date, if you know it, for the October child?
I'm not exact. My wife's upstairs, but I'm pretty sure it's October 7th. I could be a little off. I'm not sure, but that's what I remember.
All right, sir. And so As far as the current support in this case, you had provided the base pay and the BAH amounts from your LES, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had an opportunity to ask questions about the percentage used by the state to calculate that 744, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And initially, sir, without the credit you were getting for the dental, would have been paying 745.
What do you mean?
Well, sir, initially there was no credit to you of the $10.71 for dental. For the medical,
Okay.
you don't have a cost because you're active duty, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so, sir, what amount were you wanting the court to consider ordering rather than the 744 that's guideline at this point?
Honestly, 450 to 500, because only for the fact that I do have stepkids too. And as I know they're not involved in this case, I do take care of them more because their sperm donor is really not that active. So for me, it's a lot harder to take care of them as well for the fact that he's not helping at all. So that little bit, it goes a long way.
Anything else, sir, you wanted the court to consider?
No, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Your Honor, I pass this witness.
All right, sir. Is your current spouse employed, sir?
No, sir. No, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
Okay. Does she normally work, or she's just off for now? What's the circumstances, sir?
So she had worked before, but she had worked at a telemarketer job, worked stay at home. But she had to let go of the job because our child, he was still newborn at the time, and he cried a lot. So he wasn't able to work from home because, of course, being on the call, you can't have a screaming child in the background. Hopefully, within the once this child's born, within the next year, hopefully she'll be able to work again. But until then, I'm the only income, sir.
All right, and how many people in your household, sir?
Me, my wife, and my 3 kids that live here.
And sir, you said you signed that some form of paperwork, and down in Texas, it's called it would be now, it could be several different things, but technically it's an affidavit allowing termination of parental rights.
Yes.
What was the circumstances? What do you understand the circumstances were when you signed off on that, and what did the mother originally tell you, sir, about those circumstances?
So I was under an assumption that I would send my rights away. I had emailed her the paperback, and
Okay,
that
okay, start real quick. Did she ask you to sign your rights away, sir?
no, I did because I didn't think I would be able to see him being so far away.
All right, sir. That's
And then I'm
and,
sorry.
and who generated the paperwork that you signed off on, sir?
I'm sorry. One more time.
The paperwork that you said you sent there, who generated that?
I had got it. She had sent me the link to it. I downloaded it, printed it, and I went and got it notarized and then mailed back to her.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions of this witness, Ms. Bungay?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Jackson, I'm gonna go straight to you about the circumstances dealing with that termination, whatever it was done. Did you at any time ask the father to terminate his parental rights to allow someone else to adopt or take over those rights, ma'am?
I did when I was mad one time.
All right.
Because
And
wasn't doing anything.
okay, well, real quick then. And did he send, was there ever any legal paperwork filed, your divorce cause of action? Anything along those lines that was gonna allow for a legal adoption, ma'am?
No,
Okay, so there's never been a legal adoption pending.
no, Your Honor.
And so what, well, see, the judge is a little perplexed because technically there's no paperwork that can be signed off or done prior to there actually being paperwork on file for that purpose. What was the document that you and he allegedly signed off on, ma'am, or that you understand y'all signed off on?
The only thing I can recall him signing and sending to me was an acknowledgement of paternity.
All right, and ma'am, and you don't have a copy of that paperwork anymore?
No, Your Honor, I do not.
All right, Mr. Neal, do you have a copy of that paperwork?
I do not. The only copy I had mailed out.
Anything else at this time, Ms. Bungay, from either witness?
Nothing, Your Honor.
I know y'all can't see it well, but this is a copy of State's Exhibit Number 1. This is the DNA paternity analysis in your case. Mr. Neal, is there any legal reason this should not come into play at this time, or I'm sorry, should not come into evidence at this time?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Jackson?
No, Your Honor.
All right, States 1 is admitted. States 1 shows that Mr. Kyle Neal cannot be excluded as the biological father of the child Jeremiah. Probability of paternity is 99.999999996, which is well within the guidelines set forth by the Texas Family Code for establishing paternity of 99.99. And I got a combined paternity index of 3.2 billion to 1. So based on that, that means, let's see, Mr. Neal, you will win that lottery on Friday night 14 times before this baby's not yours, okay? So same
Yes, Your
odds. Good luck with that.
So I knew it was mine. I wasn't worried about that. It was just everything else, Your Honor.
All right, not a problem, sir. All right, here's what I'm gonna do, folks. Obviously, I'm gonna go ahead and make this a temporary order. Y'all got some special circumstances here. And sir, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a temporary order that I'm gonna deviate slightly from the guideline child support. I need for you to try to get your ducks in a row before we come back for a final hearing. Because again,
Yes,
sir,
sir.
at that time, I'm probably gonna be looking at guidelines because again, I understand this will probably cause some financial hardship. But you and your current spouse need to sit down and figure out how y'all gonna do this going forward, as far as some type of possible part-time she can do that babies don't interfere with. And believe me, sir, they interfere until they're away in college and they're still gonna interfere. So there you go. But I'm gonna go ahead and look at Mr. Abanga, what's the guideline amount right now, please? I've got it
744, Your Honor.
744. All right, I'm gonna take that down to I'm gonna go ahead and take it down to 590. I'm gonna go ahead and give him about 150 something. You get hopefully that goes a little bit to help you with this circumstances right now, sir. But right now, I'm gonna make temporary child support at 590 based on possible on hardship, and I'm gonna hold in abeyance. Yeah. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and, sir, I gotta, without a court action pending and adoption pending, if it was under Texas law, you would, there's nothing you could sign that would be valid as far as any type of termination of parental rights. And since there was never a case pending, there was never an attorney assigned to represent the child's best interest in that, then I'm going to go ahead and look at having to grant the retroactive. For right now, I don't want to hit you with too much extra. I'm gonna go ahead and I got to reduce that to judgment. But Mr. Bongad, I'm thinking the interest on that something like $35 a month. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor, around 37.
$37. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and order repayment of that only at interest only at this time. I don't want it going up while we're doing this. So I am gonna go ahead and order the repayment at $37 a month. But when we come back in October, I'm gonna be looking at ordering some principal to that to start knocking it down. So right now, you'll still owe the entire amount when we come back in October. But I'm gonna give you and your current spouse the opportunity to do some strategic planning and see what y'all can come up with as far as getting some extra income coming into your household before we come back. But when we come back, sir, I will be looking at having to go to guideline child support at probably at least 57, somewhere between $50 and $75, because you're not going to a month extra toward that arrears. It's not going to eat away at the principal very much, but we got a very young child here anyway, so you know we can either way at it until you make some more rank and get it taken care of. What's your current rank now, sir?
I'm a sergeant, Your Honor.
Okay,
E5.
E5. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, then. Well, hopefully in the next few years you'll get that up to E78 and someday even E9. Okay, so
For sure.
yeah, Mr. Sergeant Major. All right, no problem. All right. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and do this as a temp order. We're coming back in October, and like I said, I'll have the state remind me that I did deviate, but I will be looking at. I may still look at doing some deviation going after that date. But or I may look at keeping it the same, or I may or I may erase it just a little bit. It's up. It's going to be up to me how I look at the circumstances at that time. But I want to go ahead and get an update on what you and your current spouse are looking at as far as that, and making sure the baby's okay and there's no special needs for the child after that either. So at this time, like again, I'm gonna go ahead and set up the child support. I'm going to maintain the health insurance, sir. Through TRICARE, get mom, it's gonna be ordered to cooperate fully and making sure you get all the necessary signatures on paperwork for the purposes of getting the child on your TRICARE. And I'm gonna go ahead and reset this. And what date? Do we have any October dates? I'm not sure if I said anything up for October yet, Ms. Bangak, because that's so far out.
You had, Your Honor, for Halloween. I wasn't sure if that would work for both parents since they do have young children, or if you wanted to set a November date, then it would be past that.
All right, then what do I have a November date set up yet? I'm sorry, I don't have my Zoom.
None in November, Your Honor. We went straight from Halloween to a December date.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, let me go ahead and pick one, and when I get through with this hearing, I'll go ahead and make that date. So let's see what the calendar looks like. Because October is usually a traditional vacation month anyway. So, wait till everybody gets back to school and things will settle down a little bit. All right, let's see what I got. All right, and let's go ahead and use October 29th, and we'll get everything updated at that point. So I'm gonna start with you at this time, Ms. Jackson. Questions, ma'am?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Neal, questions, sir?
No, Your Honor.
All right, folks, let's go ahead and get this one done, and I'll see everybody in October, and we'll look and see what the final law is gonna be, and may the parties be excused at this time, Ms. Bungat?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, y'all are both excused, and I'm gonna go ahead and finish writing this about Ms. Bungat, and I'll be ready for the next one after that. Thank you. We're off the record.
Thank you.
Are you saying that you made an agreement with Ms. Taylor to continue paying $1,000 a month because of the travel expenses?
Correct, sir.
And you never reported this agreement to the state?
I was told verbatim, trust me, I'm not gonna screw you over. I'm not gonna screw you, don't worry.